Hey everyone, coming up this week on The Buzz, we are going to be talking about transportation, some hip-hop cool new shows, and a little bit of Halloween Horror Nights. And then after that, we are going to be trying to see if we will induct Disaster, a major motion picture ride starring you, into the Diz Universal Hall of Fame. So live from the Bob Varley studio, this is the Universal edition of the Diz Unplugged. This is episode 56 of the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. The Diz Unplugged Universal Edition is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. Let the experts at Dreams Unlimited Travel help you plan the perfect universal vacation. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of this foolishness and nonsense. I am your host, Craig Williams. Today, I am joined with Rhino Clevin.
What's up?
And then back on the controls, producer Dustin West.
Hello.
Yes, and again, no Jenny Lynn Knopp this week. She is still on vacation. A very big nope on Knopp. On vacation. Staycation in Orlando. If you follow her on social media, you'll know she's not gone far, but she is definitely not here, to say the least. And that's all I have to say about that.
It was too much, to be honest.
It was the perfect tribute, I want to believe. Only time will tell in terms of tributes and how they really reflect. They reflect with more time adding on. I'm going to say right off the bat, rather loudly, I am going through some massive allergy issues. So I was cleaning my house all day yesterday, and so dust flew up, and I'm allergic to dog's dust and so much more.
Is that dander?
Dog's dust, dander, the 3Ds. Not dimensions, that is. But no, so I am going to probably be blowing my nose a lot. I'm probably going to be sniffling from time to time, and I'm just going to sound awful because I'm sure I'm going to get that nasally voice going eventually. And, no one wants to ever hear that. So I do apologize for my condition on this, but the show must go on, and I apologize so much for all those people out there who have to listen to this later on.
For those of us who have to sit in the room.
Yeah, but you know what? There could be worse things out there in life. At least I'll try to keep it to a minimum as much as possible. So there's that. That's
all right.
That was, I guess that was technically my housekeeping. Is there anything?
That was literally your housekeeping, actually. You literally, that story involved housekeeping. You were keeping up your house.
Oh, that's really clever.
Well, I think that's just reality.
Yeah, that is clever, and it is reality. So
yeah. Good work.
That works. Works right. So, Rhino, did you have... I want to say you had something.
Yeah, I think I did, and I can't remember anymore. I remember saying, I'm going to talk about this in the housekeeping portion of the show. I said this to you when we were at Universal, and now I can't. Sorry.
Good.
Moving on.
Okay, well,
And we are moving on. See what I did there?
Oh, we're already getting into Disaster. A major motion picture ride starring you, which of course will be the main portion of our topic today. Hopefully Rhino will be talking about it a lot. So we did
it was by following me. Sorry. You'll see it in the video.
Yep, no, you will. So, but of course, before we get to that, our awesome segment, we got a lot of stuff to talk about in the buzz. So let's jump right onto that. And the first thing that's buzzing, I wouldn't really necessarily say this is buzzing. This was more news last week that we just didn't get around to. But Universal Orlando has started offering an airport shuttle service.
Oh, yeah.
To and from the airport. So they're dubbing it the Universal Superstars Shuttle Service.
Shuttle service.
Yeah, it just started going downhill there.
I wish
and
you had
I
a
just
little
ran
bit of
with
a
it.
little sweet whistle on the end of that one.
At the end of that.
Sweet service.
The Universal Super Star Shuttle Service. There, I got the little bit of whistle on there.
Yeah.
Just a tiny bit. So, Before in the past, you really had, if you were going to and from Universal Orlando,
You couldn't.
apologize. It's going to come out of nowhere.
To fill in the blank with.
Oh god, this is awful. Should have done an audio
You should
only
turn it
episode
into
of this.
a drinking game every time that. Well, I'm not condoning daytime drinking.
And daytime drinking. Anytime. Well, some people are going to watch this or listen at night. So anytime I go to blow my nose, take a shot of your favorite soda pop.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And if your favorite soda pop is beer or liquor, then
Daddy's. That's not what it's called. Not your father's root beer.
Yeah.
Not Daddy's root beer.
yeah, then
Daddy's root beer.
might get a little bit of buzz off of it. The buzz during the buzz.
Hey.
What are the odds? Oh,
Rhino.
we should have lights.
Sorry, I keep yelling into the microphone. I apologize.
So yeah, before in the past, you had your choice of any of the transportation shuttles like Quick, Mears, taxi cabs, all that. I mean, you could still pull a taxi to and from the airport, but in terms of all the shuttle service, the big name shuttle services, now your only one you can use is the Universal Superstar shuttle service, and it's $35 per person round trip. So that's something different. A lot of people who come to Walt Disney World are so used to Magical Express, which takes you to and from Disney property, and that of course is a free part of staying on site at Disney World, that you get that option.
Yeah.
With this, it's, you're paying the money. They take you to and from your Universal resort, but none of the off-site hotels that are right around in that area. So this is exclusively for on-site. If you have transportation booked right now for any of the other companies, it's all being taken care of and switched over. So
That's good.
You just be aware that you have to do that, and the reason why they're switching it over is because they're trying to become more personable and sociable, like the same way Magical Express is. You get to the airport and you see the signs to go there, and you're greeted by Disney cast members at the airport before you get on the shuttle like that. Very, very similar system supposedly is going to be in place for the Superstar shuttle, where you're going to be greeted by someone at a concierge desk from Universal and taken care of in that regards with all your travel documents and such. And
after you've just passed the really fancy Universal gift shop that's inside of the airport too, which is nice. I mean, you getting your vacation started like right away.
Yeah. The only other downside to this one is unlike Magical Express, where if you tag your bags before you leave and you have it on there, it literally will just go straight from your airport where you start at all the way to your hotel room there. With this one, you do have to pick up your bags at baggage
So you go get
claim,
them at the claim. Okay.
which I like that better, because that's one of the downsides to Magical Express for me, and it's plagued my family a lot with it, is if you trust it to go to the resort, you want your bags there pretty much right after you get to your resort, so you can change, do whatever, if you're able to get into your room. And then inevitably, they always don't show up until 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
Well, it gives
for
me a little
God knows what reason.
a little bit of anxiety too. Like you know what I mean? Like I just want to see the bag come out and know it's there. And like I know Disney will, they'll take care of stuff, accidents and stuff like that. But it kind of gives you that like, okay, let me take care. Like let me finish my traveling and then just start the vacation. And part of that for me is getting the luggage into the hotel room.
And the reason your bags aren't always there is because they're not necessarily under the same bus that you're traveling in. Okay. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it's not a one for one all the time. As far as I know.
Yeah. The Magical Express ones, you get on your bus, and if you had to pick up your luggage, they'll let you put it under the bus and all that. But everything else comes in the giant trucks that you'll see parked outside of the front of the resorts from time to time, and basically they wait till they're filled up and then they take them to the resort and then drive them back, because also from a financial point, it doesn't make sense to be driving a truck back and forth from the airport.
Right. It's efficient
over and over again whenever you don't need to. So it's your new option now if you want to do it. And you know what? It also could just be that they're testing the water right now with the price and all that, making it $35. That's not unreasonable for transportation at all.
A cab from the airport to there would be about $50. So it's still a little less. Like, I mean,
it's $50,
and that's one way too. $50
but if you have
one way.
a family of 2 or 3 that you can all fit in a cab,
let's show you
then
the luggage
that's
getting in
splitting $50 each way between all the people. So
is it $35 a person?
Yeah, $35 per person.
Oh, I was thinking like a
Oh, they
I don't know
can't
what
do
I
it
was
like
thinking, yeah.
35 per family. That's screwing over people that
I
are
don't
coming
know.
by themselves.
Yeah, I guess so.
No, it's per person, of course. So that's they eventually, if it's popular enough and it actually increases the amount of people only staying on Universal property for their vacation, something that was a big plus to Magical Express, Disney was able to keep people on site exclusively at Disney because they took the Magical Express over. Why leave to go anywhere else? They didn't have a car. If this one, people pay it and they start staying more on Universal property because that's where the shuttle's taking them and dropping them off. They might eventually move to a free system if they think it's going to add even more. But
well, now they have the shuttle service too to get you to Magic Kingdom, to Disney World and back to Universal too. So they're kind of making it like, we'll get you here, we'll bring you here, and then we'll bring you there. It seems like they're doing what you said, like making it more worth being like, you can make your stay here and visit the other park for the 1 or 2 days. Versus like the other way around, staying at Disney and coming here for 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, I mean, overall, the end goal is to try to keep people on site for longer and make that the primary destination and start taking away that market share. But the one downside to actually living here is this is one of those things we can't really ever do this. So I have to say right off the bat, for any of our listeners or viewers out there, anyone who ingests us, please, if you do take this shuttle service, let us know how it is, all the details about it, if you enjoyed it, and
because we would like to ingest your feedback.
Yeah, you ingest us, we'll ingest your feedback. It'll be good for everyone. Well, we'll ingest it and then digest it, really get it, and then talk about it out there. And I'm actually very excited to hear more about it. So I would love any information. And of course, you can always just message us on Facebook or
shoot us an email.
Twitter. Yeah, email uopodcast@disunplug.com.
Call my landline.
And of course, you'll be able to find all of that on our show notes page, disunplug.com. So that's about all I can say about this service that we don't get to use right now.
I don't, yeah.
Yeah, it's good information for people who are coming here.
Yeah.
And that's who we're supposed to be talking to, so it works out.
No, I wasn't saying I don't care. I meant I don't need it. That's all.
You might one day.
Yeah. I might, yeah.
You never know.
You never know.
Someday you'll just need it. You just need it.
Like dough.
Next up in the buzz.
I hate that.
So,
okay.
As we talked about on this show and is popular all over social media, everyone knows that basically everything at Universal is shutting down for the next, we don't even know how long in some cases. We know Hulk will be down till next year.
What are you talking about? I thought you meant like the whole park. I was like, what? But I see what you're saying. Major overhauls coming.
Yes. When did I say the whole park?
No, you just made it sound like I was like, yeah, stuff shuts down because of Halloween Horror Nights. But I was thinking like,
no, stuff doesn't shut down because of Halloween
at night.
Horror
No,
Nights.
Is stuff open at night? I've only ever gone
night.
during a team member preview, so I don't know.
Okay.
It's regular functionality, but we'll get there.
Tangent then. Halloween Horror Nights. Some attractions are open, but the whole reason you're paying $100 to be there is to go through mazes, not to go through attractions.
No, I know.
Everything's still open in the daytime.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay.
Go ahead. Tell your thing.
Really worrying me.
Tell your thing.
Everything is closing down.
We were just
not
there.
the park. The park is not closing down. But a lot of attractions are closing down. Disaster just closed down. Beetlejuice is on its last legs. Lucy's gone.
Oh, God.
Twister is probably going right along with Beetlejuice right after Halloween Horror Nights. So that's 4 attractions at Universal Studios in one park within a couple months of each other. So what is there to fill the gap?
Oh, I did not quite. I do know. I saw some of the props from this.
Yeah, 3 brand new shows.
Yeah.
That are taking place all around property. Well, not property, all around Universal Studios, Florida.
I thought you were kidding when you told me this too. Because we were there and there's like a there's a food truck, and I'm sure we'll get to that part. I don't want to say what the food truck said on it, but I was like, is that for Halloween Horror Nights? And that's when you were like, there's a new show coming.
Yeah. There are 3 shows in total to really give something for people to do. And I wish that we had photos and videos of all of this. They pretty much all debuted on either Sunday or Monday. I can't remember which day. And
well, we've had really terrible weather here for the last week.
Yeah.
Like Craig and I there was 4 days that we were like, we're going to film Disaster today, and every time we would go to leave the house, it would just start thundering, and then it would rain for the rest of the day. So it was kind of like we couldn't really go out and get any of it. And I'm sure they canceled those shows because they were all outdoors during that time anyway.
Well, and that's the problem. We finally got to Universal on Monday morning to
and
film
even then
Disaster.
It rained after. Once we left.
It rained. It started raining right as soon as we left. So even that happened. But these shows start at like noon, and then they do a lot of sets throughout the afternoon period. Basically, the worst time of day to be outside in Florida any time of year, because there's always a 50% chance of rain. Essentially, yesterday was like the first day it didn't rain, and that was the day I stayed inside cleaning. So eventually we'll have photos and videos of these shows, and we'll get to hear a little bit more about them. So this one's going to be kind of butchered in a way because I don't really know that much about them, only what I've read online. So again, 3 shows. The first one we'll talk about, since you already mentioned about it, the food truck, straight out of food truck.
Yeah, so it's a black truck, and it said straight out of food truck, and I was like, is that like a real food truck they're doing for Halloween Horror Nights, and they're just being really a wee bit insensitive about calling it that, or
is that a play on Straight Outta Compton? That's the only thing. Because
absolutely.
That's so popular.
Oh no, and that's one of my biggest issues with this is I don't know how long these shows have been in the pipeline of being planned. I'm guessing for a little bit, because they would need rehearsal time, time to cast all these people and get them into their positions and learn the moves and all that stuff. But like, I feel like the name for sure had to be just like based off of Straight Outta Compton doing.
I have so many questions.
Yeah, well, I was like a show, and I was like, I can't imagine it's not being insensitive a little bit to the film.
I could understand. I don't know if it's a Universal property. Is Straight Outta Compton the movie a Universal property? I don't know if it is or not. Yeah. But I could understand like them making a live show with music out of that. Making that an actual like Straight Outta Compton, like, and they come out and do like a couple of songs, like kind of like the Blues Brothers. Please inform me if you can. Where does the food truck fit in any of this?
Well, I mean, so this food truck right now, it's parked right beside Shea Alcatraz in the San Francisco section, over by where the you can see Bruce the Shark hanging up, and right across from Disaster. And
Fisher
I know
Friends.
before this was it was parked in New York at one point in time, so I guess they could technically also move this around to wherever they need to fill it in.
Is this like Mulch, Sweat, and Shears kind of deal, or is
that's what it seemed?
This features family-friendly hip hop, and I'm using for a lot of my material.
Kids pop?
For a lot of my material on this, I'm using Orlando Sentinel reporter there, Dwayne Bevel, who's been on the Disney World edition of the show before. Mm-hmm. He went and experienced all 3 of these and wrote a very lengthy, in-depth article on it. So I'll have that in the show notes because it is very entertaining. But yeah, family-friendly hip-hop, and I know they'll just... Does
he say in the review, does he say cringeworthy, or what does he say? Or do you want to save that for when we experience it?
He said that it's cheesy humor, but the crowd was eating it up.
Oh?
And he wasn't writing that as a pun either.
Right,
he
because cheese is delicious.
Well, cheese, food truck, cheese, eat.
Yeah, and the trailer's awful. And he wrote down some of the sayings that are on the side of the trailer, besides Straight Out of Food Truck. Also, wraps daily, guaranteed fresh.
Oh, God. Oh, it's like Food Rocks at Epcot. All the food puns.
Advertise spices such as Lil Dijon, Dr. Dressing, and of course salt and pepper.
Well, it's just straight. They got salt and pepper for it.
The DJ inside the truck during his show that he saw was DJ Macaroni because he's cheesy. And I've seen a couple videos posted on Twitter and Instagram and stuff where they'll pick people out of the audience and do a little freestyle about them.
Was what's his name? Oh my God, on Parks and Rec, the guy that Andy had to like replace, Johnny Karate. It was the spaghetti guy. And he bumped
Freddie
his head.
Spaghetti.
And Freddie Spaghetti. Okay, does Freddie Spaghetti make an appearance?
I was in a rap group when I was like in 10th grade. My parents found the CD. They did not care for that. But my code name was DJ Tanner.
You love your Full House.
I do.
You do. You love it. See, half of me says, "My God, what is Universal thinking?"
I don't know. I still have so many questions.
The other half, I've seen so much positive feedback about this show
I've
and the other
it.
two that I'm very, very interested in seeing it now.
Are we gonna be hungry while we're watching it? Is it like I just wish I could have been in the meeting where the guy at the table just was like, "I've got the idea," and he's like, "Food and hip hop."
Are they giving out coupons for the restaurants during the show? They could have a coupon day.
A coupon.
This show, it baffles me. But only I don't want to judge it until I see it. But of course, I've been very upfront with how I think it's going to be. The next one that is right there, also in New York, in that weird section of, it's not quite San Francisco yet, but it's really at the end of New York. You'll see a whole bunch of scaffolding and stuff that's set up looking like there's some type of rehab going on. Well, that's no rehab. No, it's not in the alleyway. It's on the edge of it. It's, right
I probably
where the
saw it and didn't
statue
even
is.
realize I was looking at it. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's Beat Builders.
By Dr. Dressing?
Beat Builders. Well, this is their stomp type show that features a lot of drumming on all the scaffolding and
like the kids in high school would do, like the stomping and clapping and stuff.
Banging on a
like
trash
that,
can.
and then just they have the
All right,
yeah, I get
We got it.
You don't need to sing it.
Doug, guys.
All right.
I think this one actually sounds a little more like I'd probably be. I mean, I'm sure the novelty is going to wear off immediately, but I saw Stomp once and I really enjoyed it, so I'm interested in seeing this one too.
This is another one of those things. I just don't understand how this really pulls people away to say, okay, I'm going to do it. But at the same time, what's the ones at Epcot that do the exact same thing? They just drum on random things during Food and Wine. They drum
the Jammers.
Yeah, the Jammers.
Okay, so do we know, is this more drum-based or is it more stomp-based?
It's drum-based, but with that stomp style to it. I mean, just lots of...
I'm wondering if it's like those guys that came out when we were in Hollywood. Remember the ones that you like so much?
Well, no, those idiots just danced.
That
was awful.
Well, they had the sweeping. Sweep.
They did, yeah. They started with sweeping.
I'm sorry. It sounds to me like they know they're going to have a lot of stuff closed over the next however long it takes them to go through this
they were
major.
Toss them something.
Yeah, we need some atmosphere. If you're not going to be able to get on a ride or attraction or a show, then at least your environment walking through. And you know what? Disney actually kind of did this when they originally started working on Disney Springs. They started adding more musicians and stuff near the Comedy Warehouse and stuff like that. They tried to add atmosphere where there wasn't as many venues available.
I think it gives a lot of the older the people because I think Universal's kind of got that reputation of being more of a thrill ride thrilling experiences versus Disney kind of has that whole for everybody geared at younger for family, and so I think this gives the older folks the grandmas and everybody something to look at in the street or people who don't want to do the rides.
It's true.
And stuff.
I mean, it's definitely something to help entertain and distract other people.
What's the third one?
The third one is, the third one is...
Did you save the best for last?
I did save the best for last. I think Beat Builders is technically considered the weakest right now, and I think the Straight Outta Food Truck is the most popular. But this next one is right they're kind of up and down in between, but Sing It. So one of Universal's most thriving products right now, thriving franchises.
You mean like the video game?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Like,
No. Well, yeah, the title's the same, but it's not a video game.
Oh, I didn't know if it was like the karaoke and it's supposed to be the exact same.
All right, let him finish.
Let me freaking finish.
Hey, he interrupted you first.
I did, but then I didn't continue.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I said before you guys interrupted me, I said it was very similar to a recent Universal franchise.
I thought Sing It was the Universal.
What? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pitch Perfect.
Oh, there we go. So what kind of show do you think it is?
Oh, no. Is it a cappella?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like a cappella.
See,
I'm sorry, everybody.
If you would have just let me finished.
I was thinking of SingStar.
Oh, yeah. No, this is Sing It. It's on Wii. Sorry. Okay.
Acapella.
So yeah, it's an a cappella show in New York, right in the right beside Finnegan's.
Utilizing those
So-
Harry Potter frog singers.
No, these ones actually were pretty good. Of course, I said I haven't seen any of the shows, but the other night, as Corey and I were leaving from the Halloween Horror Nights preview,
Yeah.
I heard these people singing in the streets. I didn't realize there was an a cappella one in New York. I completely brushed over that when I heard about all these shows, and so I figured that maybe they were doing Horror Nights stuff all throughout the park. People getting ready because coming up very quickly. So I heard these people singing, and I was like, oh, maybe they're just finding rehearsal space, because they went from singing Beat It into Bang Bang. And so that kind of, and the way the style they were singing it almost had that feel like you could, whenever they do the medleys in Bill and Ted's. So I was like, well, maybe they're just rehearsing all the way over here. And then someone pointed out on Twitter that that is Sing It, that they are doing a cappella shows in New York.
Are they an actual group, or is it going to be like interchange? You know how Epcot brought in that specific group that was doing it?
Yeah.
Or do you think these are just interchanged?
I think these ones will be interchangeable. There's going to be 8 of them out there, and I know that they're all scheduled for all these shows. There's like approximately 6 or 7 shows a day. So there's no way that they can't be interchangeable. That's 7.
It's a lot.
7 shows a day, 7 shows a week. They have to have a mixture of all of it. And all 3 of these shows have to be out there while there's nothing else open in the park, because everything is closing. Not literally, figuratively. Everything's closing. So 3 new shows. Like I said, the Sing It, it wasn't that they were very talented, if you like that style of music. But those are the shows. We'll go see them, and then maybe we'll do a full segment about how great they are, or how great they are, because I can't imagine that there's going to be any other reaction to how they are.
I wish they were all food related.
Yeah.
I know, yeah, me too. I was like kind of expecting the puns to keep going, but
well, if they were all food related, just think about how much food they could just put in subliminal advertising through it all.
I am already hungry because we started talking about DJ Macaroni, and I
Go
was like,
eat
"Ooh,
at Finnegan's."
DJ."
Did he just say eat at Finnegan's? Makes no sense to me.
Eat. They could do eat it instead of beat it.
No,
Weird Al. He's relevant.
that's already been done. Very famously.
I just said Weird Al. He's still relevant.
Yeah, but I mean,
They're not singing original tunes in the street.
The rap one are. The rap one is not.
No,
all.
I'm sorry. I was implying the a cappella group was going to be singing about food as well.
Who knows? It seems like in all these shows and movies, eventually they go on to sing their original songs.
Yeah, that's you know.
It's what they do. They run out of sites.
Okay.
Listen. So let's get out of these new shows that just totally brought me down, took me out, and let's go over to Halloween Horror Nights. Talking about it again, wouldn't be a Universal show without it, would it?
No.
No. Any takers? Nope. Apparently.
No.
Yeah.
Apparently, yes or no.
Brah.
So yeah, we had the Halloween Horror Nights preview on Tuesday night, and the big thing to report from it is there's actually not that much to report.
Okay.
Cool. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see you next week. I got to attend the travel agent fam, like I talked about just really briefly a while back, and essentially I mean, with this one, for a lot of the people who were invited to this was their first chance to get details about this stuff firsthand, hearing it from Universal. But since I already heard this stuff before, it wasn't anything really big and out there to learn about. The one thing that was fully confirmed that got me very excited about was
it got me very excited.
It got me very excited about it, and I wrote a blog earlier this week about my personal how I think the intellectual property houses are going to rank, which order, and I did Werewolf, Insidious, Freddy vs. Jason, Purge, and then Walking Dead, from best to worst. And the one thing that was confirmed at this event is that with Freddy vs. Jason, it's not just Freddy vs. Jason. They're spending time at Camp Crystal Lake first and really going into Nightmare on Elm Street before then going into Friday the 13th. Then they'll take you to 1428 Elm Street and you'll spend time there going through Nightmare on Elm Street. And then finally it's going to be Freddy vs. Jason at the end.
So like the movie?
You get essentially 3 movies in one house, all mixed together. So that actually just got bumped up over
that's like the Halloween
Insidious.
House. Like, I hope it's like, you know what I mean? Like, we get to kind of go through and you see like the Johnny Depp getting sucked in the bed.
Yeah, like I now have the anticipation of what I had for the Halloween House. So
yeah,
of course, American Werewolf in London is going to be great again. It's going to be amazing, but now I'm very excited to see Freddy vs. Jason, which I could say before I really wasn't that much.
I am excited for that one only because I like, we already talked about it. I liked the recognizable properties and to see how they kind of do it and whether it would be the movie or not the movie or whatever. But it's still like they're iconic characters. So I like when you get an iconic, like you go in with that kind of feeling. And the same way I had with the Halloween House, we talked about it.
No, I think it could be really good. They gave us a lot of food at this event too, and typically the food that they have at this event is going to be a little bit reminiscent of what they'll have at the event. If that is the case, then expect to see chocolate covered bacon this year.
Oh,
as well as they're not doing a cronut burger, but they are doing a donut burger.
Did they do a cronut burger before?
No.
Oh, is that just a thing right now?
Did
Several places do it.
Did they flip it around and have wrap-based food items like Biggie Small plates?
They should have.
Or like a 2-pack of Jell-O pudding?
I mean, I'm upset that they did not do... I'm upset they didn't do a media event for these awesome new shows that have debuted, because that would have definitely been a way to get me to go see them quicker rather than at my pace that I'm moving at right now, which is maybe in the next year. I
still can't get over Dr. Dressing. Sorry. Because
awful.
that looks great on paper, Dr. Dre.
You made that up.
No, I didn't.
He said it's DJ Macaroni, isn't it?
He said Dr. Dressing.
Dr.
Oh, you said? Oh, yeah. Shut up. That is. I thought you made that up. No. Oh my God. Okay. Sorry, they're just getting better and better for me.
Jesus.
I'm excited. Kyle Bassa, was he on there?
Yeah, Kyle Bassa was also on the side. You know Kyle.
He's big
he
into
always
hip-hop.
finds a way to show up.
Food hip hop.
And so yeah, that was essentially the highlight to that point. And then Jack came out and got to speak to all of us. And he kind of
creepy voice.
Yeah, if you haven't watched the video of it yet, please go watch it now. It was incredible as my first real interaction seeing a Jack the Clown character in person. It was pretty awesome. He is a great character just from how I've seen him there. And
Are you going to talk about, or did we talk about it? I don't think we did talk about it. But you wrote that blog post about it. The marketing for this that they sent you guys with the Jack the Clown story about the selfie stick. I just thought that was genius.
Well, that was my original story.
Well, I didn't know if you were going to talk about it on the show. I said you did the blog post, though.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I should also. I can mention it to go and read
that photo.
story.
Looks like that's what that's from. On the
it is from that story. So, for the media invite for actual Halloween Horror Nights itself next week on the 18th, Universal always typically tries to send out something really kind of disgusting and
Get
gruesome to get our attention. 2 years ago, it was a box that was kind of like, it's just a wooden box, and it was covered in like vines and stuff like that. And then you open it up, and there was a severed head with a USB thumb drive sticking in its eye that you would pull out, and then that's where all your pictures and photos are that we can use for whatever we want. And last year there wasn't one, but earlier in the year we also then received like a bloody envelope that, or was that last year right after Horror Nights? It might have been that too. It was last year right after Horror Nights. They sent out a bloody envelope
with the DVD in it,
that had a thumb drive in there that had a teaser with Jack the Clown on it, and that led up to this one that we got this year, which was a severed arm that was holding a selfie stick with a phone in it, and then on the phone were these pictures.
Wait, so was it an actual functioning phone?
It was an actual functioning phone, just not on a data plan, but the phone was
real. Wow, they
real.
really went into...
Yeah, it was on, and on the arm, it said, "Here's your hand-delivered invite."
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was on there, and then on the other side, it said, "No selfie sticks." And so if you got the USB drive that was in there again, you could plug it in, and they had all these photos of the guy that was his arm, and shows him walking around with the selfie stick at Universal, then finding Soundstage 21 where Jack Presents Monsters and Mayhem will be. And so he's in there, and then Jack and Chance were inside there and started having fun with him, and that led to holding these giant scissors that were cutting his arm off. And
it was like I saw that you post the blog post, and I was like, oh, this is just about how they got rid of selfie sticks. And I was like, oh, this is cute. Craig made up this weird story. But then it got so dark so fast, and I was like, oh my God. Like it's a good post. Like, you should definitely check out that post.
Thank you. No, I was like, they sent us all these pictures, and it was sent to Corey's old house, and he was on a staycation at Boardwalk for the weekend. So I had to contact with his tenant at his old house and go there and pick up
this severed hand,
this random box. And then so by the time I was like, I'm not gonna like do a whole unboxing thing, there's all this material, I'm just gonna come up with something.
So you came up
unique.
with that story
so I just
that was a good story. I thought that, I wasn't sure if they had like sent it to you with that story and you were just transcribing it. Like, then you should definitely check it out. I mean, it was a really clever story. I really liked it.
It was the true unofficial story.
Yeah, well, I thought you were just being kind of like a little like, this is why we don't bring selfie sticks, and then murder.
Now, it's gotten a lot of traction, though, because the title's No Selfie Sticks. And,
that's right. And I was like, oh.
A little bit of clickbait, but I feel like at the same time, there's payoff.
It was like the good kind of clickbait.
Yeah. So, anyways, Jack has me sold. I am so excited for anything that he's going to be a part of, including his show, and then getting to see all 3 iterations of Jack the Clown inside the Monsters and Mayhem house.
That's cool.
That's going to be cool. And then to end off the event, they took us to Insidious to do the...
Did you do it on lights on?
No, not lights on this time. Lights off with actors and effects. It's still not perfect. They don't have all their timing down yet and all the right music cues and any smells in there if they're going to add them. Mm-hmm. But a pretty much good representation for what it'll be. And I can't say that this house was the scariest one I've ever been in. I wouldn't even put it up on top. I think my expectations might have been a little bit too high for it, but it is a beautiful house, and there are some very jump-worthy moments. Since I got to do the lights on of it before, I knew where everything was going to essentially be. So I tried to really base my whole feelings on it off of the other people around us, and everyone was really getting a kick out of this house. So
is Insidious the one with the thing in the film, or is that Sinister? I always get Insidious and Sinister mixed up.
Has
it's the
like
one with the kid,
Black
right?
Bride, and they do the seance, and the kid,
Patrick, whatever,
goes into the further,
okay.
And there's like the red face.
Okay, yeah. That's the one I had heard that was good. So.
Yeah, no, Insidious 1 was great. Insidious 2, not quite as there, but still a very good movie. Haven't seen the third one yet. It's got Dermot Mulroney in it. Dermot Mulroney. He's in everything.
Yeah, well.
He's awesome. But no, the movie's great, and the house was spectacular. Didn't live up to my expectations on it, but if it's any sign of how the rest of the houses are going to be this year, I think we're in for a real good treat.
I'm going to watch all those movie ones this weekend, I think.
No, that's before it starts, I need to catch up on all the intellectual properties. I got The Walking Dead down.
If you need Freddy versus Jason, I'll let you borrow it.
I already did all my renting and stuff,
Okay.
so I've got everything set aside. Now I just need time to watch them. And with that, I think we're going to jump out of the buzz. And do we have a mid-show shuffle this week? Of course we don't.
Oh,
that's been gone. I'm done shuffling. Whenever you started doing that,
you took it away. As soon as people started liking it, you took it away from them.
That's the good thing about being in my position, that I can take away what people like.
People loved it too much.
They love to do lunch?
Yes, people love to do lunch.
Fantastic.
I said loved it too much.
Okay.
What are we doing now?
That's fine.
We got to talk about our Hall of Fame.
Let's move on to it. Let's move on to our spotlight, which this week is Will Disaster, a major motion picture ride starring you, make it into the Diz Universal Hall of Fame.
Bum, bum, bum.
So, for all of you out there who haven't been paying attention for a few weeks, you'll know we talked about Fast and Furious. It's coming to Universal Orlando. It's closed. It's not open yet. But to get it open eventually, they have to close Disaster, which is now officially closed as of Monday night. That was the last day. And then Beetlejuice will be following it shortly afterwards. And Disaster. At first, I was kind of going with, oh my gosh, this is a big loss for Universal. It's essentially been open since opening day. Started with Earthquake, but Earthquake was one of the rides that had quite a bit of issues whenever the park first opened up, and it had to go down for an extended period of time before it came back in its working order. But the end of Earthquake, the subway scene, is so iconic.
Oh, yeah.
Not only for what it is at Universal Studios, Florida, but also in Hollywood, being a part of the tram tour.
And that's the thing, is if this happened in Hollywood, I think you'd have riots. I mean, you can't take away this stuff from the Hollywood park and still have its heart that it has out there.
Yeah.
This, however, has never been the heart of this park, I don't feel like.
But one important aspect to look at it from is that it, again, as we've talked about Universal Studios and even Hollywood Studios transforming from these parks that are supposed to be a backstage look at how you're making the movies, and they're transforming into immersing you into films and television, which we do love. But this was like whenever they closed Backlot Tour over at Hollywood Studios. This was your behind the scenes look at how
Michael
they
Bay
can make
made
the movies.
Yep.
And
my favorite director, Michael Bay.
well, and
He's not. He's not. It's just what we say in the show.
see, but that's the
I refuse
crap.
to say it.
That's the crap that they do over at Hollywood Studios. Here, at least, they made it better. And
Definitely.
Disaster Studios, run by none other than Frank Kincaid, also known as...
I wish you had that cue. The choir cue.
The glowing body of Christopher Walken.
Yeah, also known as Christopher Walken for some people. But yeah, Frank Kincaid is the big director at Disaster Studios, who have made many, many hits before. And you could see props from those movies as you were walking through the queue, especially the extended queue, if it was ever busy enough to go back there. But even on the last day, which was Labor Day, so I understand it's a holiday. People do picnics on Labor Day. They don't necessarily come to theme parks. So it was a very slow day for its demise. But I'm sure during Christmas and Easter and those holidays, the extended queue got a lot of use, right?
I'm sure people have been back there before.
Oh, I walked back there.
Yeah, I know for a fact I've seen at least one person roaming back there.
Yeah, I mean, it was me. But...
spoiler alert.
I got to do what I got to do. So, yeah. going back to the beginning on this, Disaster, as I said, opened up as Earthquake, and then back in 2008, it lost the Earthquake, the big one, tag, and that whole storyline, and it was rebranded as Disaster, a major motion picture ride starring you. And
I think the rebranding was genius.
You do?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you see the old version
I
of
was
it?
just going to say, I know how I'm going to vote already because this attraction and I have a history that's my entire life. So as long as I told you I used to come to Florida every year to visit my great-grandmother, and we would either go, one year it would be Magic Kingdom and Epcot, and the other year it would be Magic Kingdom and Universal Studios. And I always really looked forward to Universal Studios because I felt like the rides were thrilling and scary, but they weren't like height-related rides, so I felt like I could like go in and really challenge myself. So this is the first park where I really started like being able to experience things like this. And plus, I got really into like movie making at a really young age. Well, that part really appealed to me too. So I remember being well, I mean, we'll get to it when we talk about it, but I used to be terrified on this ride.
Okay. Well, part of what I want to decide on this before we go any further, I've already opened up on Disboards the voting. If anyone's found it yet and voted, I'm not quite sure, but it is open. I can change the wording on this. I personally think that because the core of the ride has, and by saying the ride part, I'm talking about the end,
the subway scene, yeah.
Since that has been the core throughout it, should we make it involve Earthquake and Disaster?
Yeah, I don't think
all is one entity.
Because it's one of those. That's okay. So that what I was saying is the reason why I love the overlay is I think it was genius. I think this ride took itself very serious, or excuse me, this attraction. Well, it's technically a ride, but took itself very seriously when it opened, and it was the making of Earthquake. And I remember they used to show you the scenes of the movies, and they would do the same thing where like people would kind of come up and they'd show you how they did some of the scenes. And then it was the same attraction. I love that the overlay was like, okay, the ride's dated now. What can we do though that'll still make it worth going on without having to change too much? You know, like let's put some money into it, but let's not redo it completely because we know maybe it doesn't have a full length future. And it was this way for about 7 years, but now they were like, let's make it a B movie. And so it's like you're going to be specifically in this B movie.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's genius because it's exactly kind of like what you expect from a B movie. Like, it was like, all right, it's getting cheesy. Let's pump that cheesy factor into it, and let's do that. I just think whoever came up with that idea is like genius.
I actually I really don't know how to feel about it. In terms of the core of the pre-show area, though, it was very similar, though, in that you pick people out of the audience. They
still went up and did their scenes.
Okay, they still did scenes and all that. So it really was just that part that was all changed and added in the great technology of adding in Christopher Walken using that. I believe that was the first time they used that mapping technology that they have now gone on to use in stuff like Forbidden
Potter.
Journey in the queue, as well as Escape from Gringotts. Yeah, I read about how they do it. It's something with a mirror on the ground and how it bounces up, and that's how it's all done.
Interesting.
Like I think it's a fascinating thing. I've literally, whenever I used to be at Forbidden Journey, we would go stand up where Harry, Ron, and Hermione take off the invisibility cloak and be there. Well, we would go and see it from that aspect, and it is bizarre, but you couldn't get close enough to it to really like see
what the mechanism
exactly how it's all working. But it's very cool technology at the same time, and obviously, I've already said it. I've only seen this Christopher Walken version of it, and before, if we would have been voting on this, I would have said yes immediately, and then after doing it 3 times in a row, I went back to no. My God, how awful was our day having to do that 3 times in a row. But if we look at it from we're including Earthquake and Disaster as one big thing, then I could start to really get on board with that.
I mean, for me, I would, again, for like how Dustin said, the core of the ride remains the same. But for me alone, I would vote for it for that reason to go in, just because I don't know another attraction necessarily that redesigned itself in the same manner while keeping the same exact thing. You know what I mean? Like, you've seen Stitch's Great Escape do the overlay from Alien Encounter, And like you're like, okay, I knew the guns used to drop down, the lasers used to shoot, and so like it's got the same motion, but it's not the same thing.
Well,
like,
yeah,
this is still being in the movie. This movie,
even the backlot tour itself at Disney went through many different changes, but still kept the same. It lost things, it gained things. It didn't always have the same water tank show before it.
Yeah.
And it used to have the residential street, but it's changed. But we can still look at it now that it's gone as one cohesive thing, and I think that's what we're looking at here.
So here is the plot for Disaster. So you're going on a tour of Disaster Studios, home of Frank Kincaid again. And so you first start off in this very, very cramped room whenever they're trying to pack the shows completely full. And that's where Lonnie, the
guy with the
production
hair?
assistant, comes out. Yeah, it's in that case, it would be, if you're watching the video version of the show, he is the one.
The chubby David Spade.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't figure out who Lonnie is in that picture, then you're
you got some issues.
Yeah. And if you're listening to the audio version, I highly suggest you go and watch the full video that we put up of the entire Disaster experience, and that will be the best way you can really catch up on everything that's happening. We will be showing a short video as part of this show, but just mostly of the subway scene for people who are never lucky enough to get to see it. And
again,
everything else, go and watch the full version.
Subway scene, like so we did it the 3 times. Every time I was in it, I still remember being a little kid. Like it made me flashback because when the floor drops down and the tanker slides toward me, I was like, "This is where I die." That's what I always used to think. I was like, the fire is going to engulf me. There's no way I survive this. And then the water comes down the other side, and I was like, this is where I drown. I was a very morbid child. Like,
yeah, you were also very, very scared of.
Oh no, I was afraid
fake
of everything.
things.
Yeah.
Fake things. So yeah, Lonnie comes out, and Frank Kincaid is working on his next big masterpiece. His next big.
Nature.
Well, you don't find that out quite
sorry,
yet at that point. But Lonnie's got the list of every character that he needs to cast for the film. So he needs a kid. He needs
grandmother.
3 evil villains. He needs a grandmother. He needs a buff guy, and then he needs a person who can scream very loudly, and then he needs, of course, a person wearing closed-toed shoes and long pants because they have a certain task that they have to do.
Does he also need a person in a pink flowery Hawaiian shirt?
Unfortunately, not for this one. So.
I don't understand that.
Okay.
Oh, Indiana Jones?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So everyone gets chosen that they need to be in the show, and then that's where we get into and we are moving on because, well, that's how your distinction of moving on from one room to the next.
Have you, and that was the reference I made earlier.
Yeah.
Have you been in the show? Because
no.
I've been one of the evil scientists before.
I don't like being in these shows.
Oh, surprise.
As far as I can remember in my entire history of going to theme parks, I think I've only been a part of 2 shows ever. The first time was the sound stage over at Hollywood Studios. I was the millionaire during the Gilligan's Island section, so I got to wave my fan of dollar bills, and then also my dad and I were a part of the backlot tour doing the.
You did the boat?
We did the scrubbing on the boat.
You were the deck crew.
Yes.
Nice.
So that's the only 2 times I've done it, and I get embarrassed.
I do too. When I was a
stuff.
kid, I never would have done it, but now as an adult, like I still get like the cold sweats, but I'm like, just do it. But go on. Yeah.
If I was ever put up to it that they're like, yeah, I want you, of course I'm gonna do it. I guess I forgot too. 3rd show doing the awful Belle's Enchanted Tales. I had to be one of the stupid knights in shining armor.
My brother had to do it. He was really upset.
Well, it was my first time through that thing, and I just wanted to watch the freaking show. And they're like, no, come on up.
You had to hold up a cardboard helmet.
Yep. It sucked. So, anywho, back on to Disaster.
Okay.
You move on, and that's you in the next room. You go in, and you're all on tiered standing levels, and that's whenever you get to meet the genius for the first time, Frank Kincaid, with Christopher Walken coming out and doing just a ridiculous back and forth with Lonnie. And this is whenever, of course, they're making great use of that technology.
Oh, yeah.
We already said it really does look like they're interacting together in the same room.
One of my favorite parts about that too is in that photo there that you have up. So on the left on that the corkboard, I know the lighting's changed a little bit, but when it was first opened, like I didn't know, but those 2 pictures that are tacked up there, like he goes over and grabs one and rolls it up and like tosses it, and Lonnie catches in the barrel. Like, and I just think that I remember the first time I watched that and I was like, whoa! Like I just thought it was really cool because I think the lighting might have changed a little bit because now some of the stuff that he does and touches is really dark, but. When it was like on point, that was it was awesome.
And they still do the throwing the paper, and they still catch it. It's just not as and that's even gone downhill since the first time I've done it. But still, it's a very cool section, and he just essentially introduces his little black book full of secrets and how to make the perfect movie, and that's where you find out the title will be Mother Nature. And
it's by following these rules. That's my favorite part. Christopher Walken gets really loud. You have to watch the video because it's just this random part, and Christopher Walken just is kind of like, I'm tired of doing this. It's by following, and he gets loud and starts talking really fast.
It's so hilarious. It is too funny to describe.
Yeah.
From there, you are moving on into the next room, and that's where they do the. That's where all the extras that were chosen get to start doing their roles that they were. Set to be in it. So like there's a kid that does this jumping off a building type technique.
Okay, my favorite part about that is that the kid goes and stands against the wall, and they give him a line of sight, and they're like, okay, look at the rock up there. And it's this rock that's in a rope. And do I wait till later to say the other part? What the kid's looking at?
Yeah, wait till later.
Okay.
And so they each get their own little thing. Like the grandma that they chose for gardening is sitting on
she's hoeing
a thing, hoeing away, and the evil scientists are wearing their hard hats and their lab coats, and they get rocks dropped on them, and they're filming all these parts that are going to be inserted in later.
Balls. He's like in the ball bathtub.
That's wearing the long pants and the closed-toed shoes, and then even everyone in the audience gets to be a part of it as they act like something is stinking, and they use a very probably unappreciated use of that smell from Leonard Skinner as part of the show. And so that's all this part. And Frank Kincaid's so impressed with everyone in the audience on how they acted that everyone gets to be a part of the big Subway finale.
Yeah.
And we actually will go ahead and play the video from the big Subway finale so everyone gets an idea of that, as well as the final product.
Watch for the kid in that final product.
Yes.
What's that? It's just a trimmer.
masterpiece. You're welcome. Thank you, thank you. Okay, now check it out.
Nothing else is going to happen.
From Disaster Studios. In a world
Tell him how you lived.
It ain't nice to mess. Mama can't child. Sharon storming a theater near you.
Okay, so that was the big subway scene going into the ending as you're pulling back out of the subway.
And they don't tell you the Rock's gonna be in it, but they make that Rock joke early. I always find that amusing.
I know you do. You always do find that amusing. And of course, the whole end of the ride then makes up for any inconsistencies with the beginning aspect of it. But I mean, that also, I'm going into this with the fact that we went through it 3 times in a row, and it was great the first time.
But then when you hear the same joke and you're like, oh sweet Jesus,
I won't even say it was great the first time. I liked the
last
final
guy was
Lonnie.
the best. Yeah.
I liked him.
David Spade.
Yeah. So it all depends on who you have too that can really make or break the ride. But let's get on with our final opinions of it and say whether or not we should think it should be in there, because of course it all comes down to everyone who votes on disboards.com, which the link to the thread that we started with that will be in the show notes page. But I'm going to start out with Dustin, because I know you're a big Chris nut.
I am.
Chris Walken.
That's Christopher Walken, by the way, that he's referring to. For me, I don't know how you could do a Universal Hall of Fame and then when this ride closes, not put Disaster/Earthquake in the Universal Hall of Fame, especially when you're talking about Universal Studios. What an integral part it plays as a portion of the tram tour out in Hollywood and leading its way into Orlando. That was the staple attraction when it first opened. And it's in the same way, it's kind of like the Backlot Tour or the Great Movie Ride out at Disney's Hollywood Studios. It is not the same heart of this theme park as it is out in Hollywood. But, you know, they've kept it up to date, relatively speaking. They didn't really let it go too far and get too old. So they stayed up to date, and I think it just ran its course, and now it's time to go away. And I've always enjoyed it every time I've done it. So I'm gonna put it in the Hall of Fame.
Good. I'm gonna go with me next, just because I feel like Rhino is gonna take the longest to sort out his emotions.
I'm thinking about where you guys go.
Of course, I would absolutely say yes on this one too, just because it is Universal. That is what this whole backstage look at it. That's what founded Universal, and it deserves it for that reason. On the downside, as much as some parts of it felt timeless and aged well, I know other parts of the show, specifically a lot of the jokes by Lonnie itself, really should have been changed from these are script jokes to these should be ad-libbed. Because like there's a joke about whenever he needs to pick all the actors. Well, where are their actors at? Well, they're all in rehab along with, in our instance, we heard it back and forth between two, Miley Cyrus and not Miley Cyrus, Lindsay Lohan or Charlie Sheen, which
and I was like, I think neither of those people are currently there.
So the rehab joke, that is a physical part of the script that doesn't get changed, but you get to insert, or you have the choice of which actor you want to use. But neither of those actors are relevant anymore, and at the least for being in the Hall of Fame. Like Charlie Sheen, he went through a crazy point, but he picked himself back up after that. It would be like saying David Hasselhoff after the whole hamburger incident. Like, it's just, you got to keep some of that stuff more relevant. Those jokes, especially, like even whenever then they drop like a Lady Gaga joke, pretend you're out on a date with Kim Kardashian or Lady Gaga. It's not funny, especially like with Lady Gaga anymore. She hasn't been in the news recently for being a freak in quite some time.
And Kim K's
people have
taken.
accepted it too, so it's not really funny anymore. You know what I mean? It's like it was funny the first time we saw her in the meat suit or something like that, and you're like, oh God, But now we know her. We know her way, and it's what we've come to expect of her. So it's no longer a joke.
Yeah. If that would have, if they could have really updated jokes like that and made sure that these were kept as ad-lib moments and they're allowed to update that as much as they want, this attraction would have had a lot more legs. Dare I say, it might have even been more popular to the point that they'd have to think twice about getting rid of it, considering it really has only been 7 years since it just came back up from its latest incarnation. However, all of that aside, the Christopher Walken moments are absolutely genius. Anytime he shows up in any form, whether it's in the great technology or just up on a video screen or at the end of the tram tour, it's all golden. The Mother Nature trailer that you get to see at the end with The Rock coming out is fantastic as well. And then, of course, the subway part, it's just... I love it. I love it so much, and I'm glad that it's still in Hollywood. Right attitude, yeah. I'm glad we got to see it on its last day, and I'm glad it's still out in Hollywood, so I can always continue to see it while it's there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree with what both of you guys said. Like what Dustin said is I think of it as it's synonymous with Universal. Like I think of Jaws, E.T., Disaster. Like those are rides that in a heartbeat. Like I think they were the foundation of what this park was. Especially what its mission statement was when it opened. And yeah, we're moving into a new era, but I don't think it's like where those have become irrelevant per se. I actually think like it was probably a tough decision to choose to close Disaster. I don't think they were like, get rid of it, it's done. I think they were probably like, oh, we really want to make this current franchise, put it in here.
They just only have so much space.
Yeah, and they were like, well, like it's got to go. It's got to be this. And so I don't think it was a lighthearted decision necessarily.
Exactly.
And I completely agree with you about like the Christopher Walken. That makes it. And that's what I remember now about that ride. Like as a kid, I was so scared, and now I leave laughing in that ride, but in a good way, not in like oh, that was terrible, but like the video at the end is hilarious. And I mean, I didn't. Unless because we did it 3 times in a row, I picked up on those jokes that you're talking about. Yeah. I don't necessarily think those are like deal breakers. I do think that the individual actor, unless somebody's watching them, could have just done like what you said, made it their own. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think this absolutely deserves a Hall of Fame.
I agree.
Put it in there, guys.
Yeah. So of course, it's going to come down to you for voting. The link to that, as well as everything else that we've talked about today, will be in the show notes. You'll find the show notes at disunplug.com. Look for the blue Universal one, and that's where you'll find all this stuff. As long as you have eyes. If you don't, then I don't know how to help you.
Sorry for our eyeless fans out there.
Yeah, I can't do anything beyond that to really make it better for you. And yeah, so you have the final say on whether or not this goes in. So please get out there and vote. The last time around, we voted on would Lucia Tribute be inducted into the Universal Hall of Fame. Well, it closed this past Friday, and I can say that it officially made it into the Universal Hall of Fame. So
congratulations.
Joining Jurassic Park and the Cat in the Hat, we now have Lucy a Tribute.
Okay.
And we could make Disaster. We could start really building up a list here, which would be very nice. And we'd like to. So as stuff keeps closing, and then just really ones that we want to do in general, we'll keep doing these segments.
E.T. We got to do the E.T.
Getting to talk about our favorites out there. Mm-hmm. And so if you guys have any ideas or want to send in any emails for one of our next email shows, remember to contact us either on Facebook, Twitter, or the preferable way, UOpodcast@disunplug.com is our email. That's how we would like you to send stuff in. You can find that at disunplug.com as well. If you go to the /contact at the end of disunplug.com, that's that, or just look for where it says contact on the page and you'll be able to find that, or it's still in our show notes. Make sure you're subscribing to us on YouTube. Make sure you're doing that, as well as iTunes, and hitting like or dislike depending on how you feel, leaving comments, and reviewing us on iTunes as well. And thank you all so much for watching and paying attention to us every week, and we love doing this. And we will be back next week with another episode of the Universal edition of the Diz Unplugged. Remember, disaster is universal.